Hey guys, welcome back. Andrew here with Ambient Endeavors, and today we're taking a look at the Flower Pedals Dahlia, a really compact, feature-rich stereo analog delay pedal. To my knowledge, Flower Pedals is a one-man operation out on the East Coast in the US here, and so it makes it pretty impressive to think about and to play and experience this pedal along with some of the other pedals he's putting out. One man doing the R&D, doing the tech, doing the development of this product, and putting a lot of different features and sounds into a pretty small package here. So we're going to talk about the Dahlia. We're going to go over some of the features and some of the knobs and controls. Then we're going to hear a bunch of sounds towards the end of the video of the pedal in action. So like I mentioned, Dahlia is a stereo analog delay pedal. You get two independent delay lines with about 800 milliseconds of max delay time in each of them. And he's kind of running with this form factor that he used on a stereo tremolo I demoed a while back, and really kind of maximizing space and control here to do a lot of different things. So we're going to run through the control set here. It's a pretty dense pedal, and as we kind of walk through, you'll find that out. As I've spent some time with it, I've really kind of had to study it and get to understand some of the ins and outs of it. So perhaps if you're someone who really likes to have a lot of control on the face of a pedal, being able to do a lot of unique and intricate tweaks to a stereo pedal, this is kind of right up your alley. If you're someone who kind of gets bogged down by different toggles and submenus and subsettings and things like that, this one might kind of trip you up in a way, although it does kind of offer you this really cool breadth of options in terms of running stereo and adding different functionality and sounds to the stereo delay line. So let's dive into the control set. You can get to know kind of how this pedal works here. You have single jacks for ins and outs. You can go TRS stereo in, or you can go mono with a normal patch cable here, and there's a toggle to tell the input sort of what it's seeing. You also have a jack for tap tempo or expression input here on the right, and then your output here on the left. You do also have MIDI in and out on the top here. So on the face of the pedal, you get your sort of standard traditional delay settings. You get mix, time, and feedback across the top here, and then a tone control, subdivisions control, and your modulation depth control here on the right. And then by holding down the right foot switch, you enter the sort of secondary tier of settings. This will allow you to affect the ramp parameters. You get the speed of the ramping on the top left here, the ramp 2 position for time and repeats here. And then on the bottom, you get access to a gain control, which can add some saturation, sort of overdrive to your delay sound, a time lock function that we'll get into later, and then the modulation speed here on the right. In the middle, you have some toggle controls, two toggles that will affect the mode by which you're running your stereo. So you have a series mode, which kind of runs one delay into the next in series. In the middle, you have a stereo mode that is sort of a traditional stereo sounding experience, and then your parallel stereo mode on the right there. Moving to the secondary menu, you also have 3 options for modulation waveforms there on the left toggle. As we move to the right toggle, you get a control toggle. So this will allow you to affect what your knob turns and things like that are affecting. On the left, you'll get control over the first delay. In the middle, you'll have control simultaneously over both delays. And on the right, you'll get control over the second delay. By holding the foot switch again here, you access a time lock mode selection. So on the left, you can choose width mode, which will essentially allow you to use this center bottom knob to create some stereo dimension through a Haas effect. In the middle, you have independent mode, which will allow you to control the separate delay lines independently. And on the right, you have a divide mode, which allows you to select a subdivision here through your time lock knob again for your secondary delay. I think that's about it. As you kind of can glean from that overview, there is a bit of denseness to this pedal. You have those secondary layers of control, which for some might be really awesome to be able to manipulate and affect and kind of fine tune your sounds and your delay experience. For others, it might be a little bit daunting to have to remember or recall or kind of learn the interface around how to utilize all of those secondary features in each mode. And so, that's just one note about the pedal. I think there's pros and cons to packaging a lot of different features and functionality into a small pedal. The other thing I'll note about this pedal and about analog delay pedals in general is you'll get a variety of different noise levels from different analog delay chips and things like that. It's pretty normal to have a little bit noisier of a delay repeat from analog delays, and this one has that sort of sound to it. I found myself, especially like in the intro sketch and as I've been playing it, sort of feeling like it can be an added effect to the delay that you can kind of play to. Perhaps it works better in certain genres or certain styles or certain use cases. For others, it might inhibit you from wanting to use it because of the noise or the texture of it. But I think it can be cool in the more kind of lower-fi, grittier sounding delay moments, and so you kind of lean into that when you use this type of pedal. But if you're looking for a really pristine, crystal clear, kind of smooth rounded analog delay, this might not be the one for you. But the combination of some really fun modulation, a tone knob that can kind of work to round out some of those highs and tame some of the noise, as well as that gain control that can add back in some grit and some texture if you want to lean into that direction. There's some cool things you can do with the Dahlia as is there with those analog delay chips and sounds. So that's a brief overview. We're going to go to a sound sample section here, and I just want to kind of give a plug for a good friend of mine, Mark Johnston, who many of you probably already know. He did an awesome video on this pedal and approaches his videos a lot more like a video manual or tutorial where he's deep diving into exactly how you're using each mode and each function. If you're wanting to kind of have a more exhaustive sit down with this pedal and learn the ins and outs of the features, check out his video. I'll link it below. But we're going to dive into some sounds that kind of show you just some of the ranges of the knobs, some of the vibe and the feel of the pedal itself, and get to it. So I'm using this in a pretty stripped down setup, a smaller board. We're running a Benson Germanium boost at the start of it into the Dahlia here, on in stereo to Walrus Sloer with a pretty mild reverb setting a little ways into the video, and then onto a UA Ruby for the amp here. I'm using an Eastwood Stormbird guitar that you saw in the intro sketch. And I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Check out the sounds. Drop any questions or comments you have about the Dahlia, and let's chat. Check it out.